Hello, my name is Michael Neese. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Bowmo. In this video, we'll meet and hear from Petra, Damien, and Keith, three members of an exceptional and international Bowmo OWNverse team working together to build our cloud-based software platform that we call Bowmo 2.0. Today's discussion focuses on potential bias in AI. First, we'll learn more about Damien and Keith and Petra's background. Then we'll have a discussion of the key issues and how to address the issues of bias in AI. While the legal folks are working to finalize the merger of Bowmo and OWNverse, our teams are already working intimately together to advance the development of this platform that combines the best of artificial intelligence and extended reality. Now let's meet and learn more about the three members of our team on today's podcast. Keith, tell us a little bit about yourself and please introduce yourself.
My name is Keith Carlson. I'm Chief Information Officer for Bowmo. I've been in web, e-commerce, and digital consulting for about 20 years. And before that, for about 10 years, I was in systems engineering for the aerospace and military businesses. I have a degree in computer science, a master's degree from UC Santa Barbara, and in degrees in economics and engineering, also from UC Santa Barbara. I've been with Bowmo for the last 4 years and enjoying every minute of it.
My name is Damien Hischier, and I'm responsible for the AI design and development at the Bowmo. I joined the Bowmo team probably around, I think, 2 years ago now. And my background is I have a degree in informatics and computer science, and I'm in the software development for more than 30 years already, mainly in database applications, developing of database applications and handling of big data. In the last 5-6 years, I started with AI in different projects. So one of the projects was AI system integration of a flight control system for autonomous flight controls. And I was also involved in other projects, in blockchain projects and cryptographic technologies in the last few years. And since about 2 years, I started working on the artificial intelligence algorithms for our new Bowmo platform.
Michael, I'm from the OWNverse team. I'm responsible for conceptualizing and the research behind the product. My background is in architecture and engineering. I spent 8 years as an architect and engineer and in design, and then I started implementing new technology in my practice, and I started working with ambient intelligence and the digital twins, and I specialized in synthetic space, synthetic environments, and that was already the field of XR. And gradually, I also implemented AI into my practice, and that has been 7 years ago. And ever since, I worked with companies all over the world on research, while they were developing their products. And I am with OWNverse for the 2nd year, and I also enjoy every second of it. And now also with the Bowmo.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. Now let's jump right into our open discussion about the bias in AI. And first, let's talk about what is bias in AI.
Sure. AI is generally these days usually refers to some aspect of machine learning. Machine learning uses data from the world to teach itself how to do things. So if there is bias in the data that it's learning from, there will be bias in the AI algorithm that's derived from that. So one of the biggest problems combating bias in AI, and it's particularly important in this context of Bowmo and HR, because you're recruiting people, you're making decisions about people's lives, and so you have to do your best to eliminate as much bias as you can. The issue is taking the data and figuring out how to correct for any biases that might have been put there by the humans who did the recruiting in the past. There are ways that we're talking about doing it. It's an ongoing research topic. Petra just wrote a really great blog post about it. Petra, you want to talk a little bit about what you found for us?
I just wanted to add to that we have to realize, and what we have to work with is that artificial intelligence ultimately is still dependent on human intelligence. It's not independent. It's not acting by itself. I mean, it's predicted to come at some point. I think that the singularity was pinpointed in like 30, 40 years. But as of now, AI is trained by is trained by the human intelligence. So ultimately, all the information that is being fed into it comes from us. So when we have some preconceptions, we have some preconceptualized notions about something, it's inherently going to be transmitted into AI. So based on that, we categorize two main types of bias. One is sample bias, and one is called cognitive bias.
Yeah. Now, Damien, is it like when you hear bias, it's, you think, oh, it's bad. Bias is bad. Is it always bad, or is it sometimes good?
It's not necessarily always bad. It can be also a good thing depending on what you want to do with, or what kind of algorithms you want to develop, and what kind of data you have. From a developer point of view, that's a very important point, and the developer has to be conscious about this cognitive bias and really have to keep it in mind that his brain tries to fool himself kind of, and that he or she can recognize that when the brain of the developer wants to do something else unconsciously. That's an unconscious thing, and I think the most important thing there is the awareness of that, so that we as a developer are aware of that can happen, and that we try to eliminate that as much as possible. And then for the data side, is there going to be a time where we have completely unbiased AI systems? Probably not, but technically it would be possible, but in reality it will never be possible, because as long, let's put it like this, as long as the algorithms are developed by human beings.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to mention in this context that bias are, most of them, like the vast majority of them, are not intentional. They're not there to harm someone, because sometimes when I read articles online about this, it's like it's about the race and the gender, and I do completely I know what is meant by that, but it is, most of the bias are not to harm someone. It's just I wouldn't even call it a failure of processing. It's just a necessary byproduct of what we have to work with right now.
Mm-hmm. It's systemic, it's societal forces, that have made hiring decisions and everything in life in some ways has some bias in it. And in a perfect world, we take that all out. But as we just said, it's almost impossible to completely get rid of it. But as we said, I think the knowledge of it is probably the most important thing, that that there is bias and you're doing what you can to eliminate it.
Damien, if you could elaborate the problem that was found in Python, which is used pervasively in hundreds of thousands of apps.
So Python is basically a very wide used programming language or programming library, and it was originally designed for fast prototyping, but in the last few decades it evolved into a full-blown system, and there are many public libraries out there. And just recently, so last year, they found in one of the libraries significant bias in a special algorithm which is called naive Bayes algorithm, and they recognized that it was heavily biased, and this algorithm or this library has been used in hundreds of thousands of systems which are actually in production, and that can be very dangerous. It can be a very dangerous situation, and therefore it's very important that we use algorithms that we know exactly what they are doing behind the scenes. And therefore, we rely on developing our own algorithms based on the science of the AI, on machine learning, and even neural networks. It's also part of the whole system. And maybe to elaborate a little bit on that, so how does an AI algorithm really work? So it's an algorithm. It's one thing, but the more important thing is actually the model behind it. So if we really want to use this, we need to have a model, and the model has to be trained. So that means we need to have a data set with a lot of data that we can train the model, and then we actually need two other data sets. So one other data set is to validate the model, and then the third one is to actually test it. And that can be another source of bias if the training data are not well distributed. So if they only have one certain group of people, or I don't know, one certain type or one certain class of data, then the model is trained by this data, and the outcome will be that it can be biased. So therefore, it's very important to have a wide spread or a wide range of different data sources, which in the best case are even independent from each other, and that we can use those data to train our models. And we are actually in a very comfortable situation because we have a lot of data. We have data from the past 10 years, which we can use to train our models, and our data they are from many different sources. That's another way how we can assure that our model or our algorithms are not biased.
We've also reached out, the Bowmo OWNverse team has reached out to friends of ours in academia who specialize in responsibility in AI and machine learning. And we're hoping that we can get some help from some of the top researchers in that area.
And one additional thing which we can use is what we call the human-in-the-loop machine learning. So if we have people who are going to validate, let's put it like this, who are going to validate our models, independent people from different walks of life, which are not biased to a certain group or something like this. And that's another important step we are going to take, and we actually already started with that. So there are very good technologies out there how to do that right now, and we already implemented that in our development.
Yes, as it was mentioned already, it's really important that what we develop is ours, because we have worked with some other software solutions, and they have their own limitations, and it really imposed a lot of problems on what we were trying to reach. So sometimes these things are not entirely visible at first, so you only find out at the end when you see the outcomes. But it's important that what we develop is that we set, not just that we train it, that it means that we feed the AI information that we want, but also that we build the limitations around what we want it to be.
And I just read an article this morning with the question, will AI replace the human beings in the near future? And the clear answer was no, because as Petra mentioned before, so the algorithms are developed by human beings. And as long as the algorithms are developed by human beings, the human being cannot be eliminated by the artificial intelligence.
You know, I think we're working on something that we all hope will actually open up recruiting in HR to people that might not have been included before. We're working on the user interface so that people who might have given up before because it was overly complicated or involved something that they didn't happen to have on hand, we're opening that up so that they can apply, that they can use these services that in the past might have not been available to them. So we're hoping that instead of promoting bias, that we're actually eliminating it as we move forward.
What we want to do in ending this podcast is first point out that we're first integrating these two powerful technologies, artificial intelligence and extended reality, and we're focusing that power on human resources and recruiting. But our long-term vision is to then deploy this same platform in other industries like cybersecurity, real estate, sales, and even sports and entertainment. So let me thank you, Petra, Damien, Keith, for helping to highlight some of these challenges and how our team is dealing with bias in AI. You can read more about this in an article that Petra recently published, and I'll put the link to that article just below this video. And thank you to the Bowmo shareholders and investors who continue to support and believe in our team as we build this extraordinary company together. We'll be publishing additional videos to keep you informed about what's happening with product development and the growth of the company. And I invite you to post your questions and comments, and we'll do our best to respond to your thoughts in future videos. So thanks very much to Petra, Keith, and Damien. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.